everyone. Welcome to Phoenix Rising. My guest today is a very special person, Dr. Mia Laurel, who has also worked on me, and I have had, and that was a while ago that you worked on me, but I am still reaping the benefits of those sessions. Really wonderful. And when we were scheduling her to be on the show, it was what title can we use that would encompass at least partially what you practice, what you bring, the message that you want to share. So where healing meets science is really perfect.
Took me a long time to figure that out.
Yeah. How many years are you in practice now?
As an attending, going on 4. Yeah, I came out in 2016 to do my residency training, and then I stayed. I graduated during COVID. My parents are in their late 70s. Actually, they're in their early 80s now.
Yeah.
And so it didn't make sense to go home where I couldn't be with them, just to be near. And so I stayed in the community that I knew, in the hospital system I was comfortable in, and then here I am.
And here you are. And you, as a practitioner, have grown and grown and grown from where you started out. She was laughing. Yes, she has. There are so many amazing things happening on your journey that I find so exciting. So when I went to Dr. Laurel, it was due to the fact that I was impacted by shingles on my face and my head, which some of you remember. And it was a pretty nasty case, and it really had me looking physically like a monster for a while, and left some after effects with great pain and profound itching that there's really no word for. So when I met you at your new office in West Hampton at the time, it was an absolute joy and pleasure and letting go of a session. I felt so safe and so protected. And the way you worked on me was just the word magical.
I hear that a lot.
Yes,
I hear that
and
a lot, yeah.
because there's no other words at times to explain it. So aside from working on me as an osteopath and feeling things with your hands, you also feel things energetically.
I do.
So what is it like for you when you first started working on a patient at the beginning, say the 4 years ago? Was it more tactile? And then all these other gifts started saying, tap, tap, I'm here.
No, actually, let's rewind.
Okay.
So I have always had extra abilities just like bursting out of the seams. When I was about 19, my hands went rogue and they started healing on their own. And by that I mean, so I'm in college, right? So I'd be at a party in college and all of a sudden someone is turning to talk to me and I'm not sure why until I realize my hand's on their shoulder. Like strangers sometimes. It's lucky I was cute.
Right.
If I hadn't been cute in college, we might have had problems. And they would say to me, how did you know my shoulder hurt? And I'm thinking,
It was an instinct that you weren't even aware of.
Yeah. And then they would say, and what did you do because it's gone? So that's really where this started. I mean, the healing aspects. We could talk about any number of other types of chapters. So it started at about 19. By 21, 22, I knew my hands healed people. I was very interested in massage. Of course, I'm a very tactile person. And so someone would say something hurt. So now I'm getting the warning. So that was nice. And I would touch their body and I would get an image of what happened. So falling down a ski hill, tripping off of a skateboard, like lifting something they shouldn't have. And so I would get the heads up of like, what are we working with so that I could start to cater my version of massage to making them better. When I chose medical school, I thought I was giving the middle finger to spirit. I was like, nope, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. I'm gonna go be a rational scientist. And I had that part of me
Mm.
always because I wanted to make sense of these crazy things that were happening. Um, and so I got myself accepted to medical school. I moved myself down to Los Angeles from Seattle, which is where I'm
Mhm.
from. And about 2 or 3 months in, it was almost like I felt the trap close. And they were like, gotcha. And everything exploded. So as I was learning to be a physician, like Western medicine, very rational, very like
Mhm.
regimented training, like typical medical training. On the other side, I'm having these forced out of body experiences because I'm not meditating when they're telling me to. So if I didn't meditate when my spirits told me to, they would lock me out of my body and like put me through a tutorial. And I
Yeah.
got back in my body when I finished it. And they usually did it in such a way that if I didn't cooperate immediately and fully, I was going to be late for class.
So you learned very quickly, I'm going to cooperate right now.
Well, we've worked on that.
It wasn't so immediate. You were late more than 4 or 5 times, I
Oh, we
imagine.
thought my whole life.
Yeah.
Until pretty recently. And then I finally admitted, like, they were right. Kind of around the time that I realized my parents weren't so bad.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we all grew up as saying our parents are horrible.
Oh,
And some parents, yes, are. But I think in whole, it's like, I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you came out here,
Mm-hmm.
and you were in a traditional practice when I first heard of you.
Sure was.
And the person that put us together sent her a lovely message today on my cell to give her this lovely message. And this individual just kept telling me about this wonderful doctor she was seeing. And the practice that you were in, they were getting cranky because you spent too much time with your patients. How dare you? How dare you care for someone that comes in and needs assistance?
It doesn't pay very well.
No, no. So, a blessing that you left there, and more doors are opening for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that woman, you saved her life.
That's how she says it. I don't know. When I
Yeah.
hear that from
Well,
my patient,
Spirit worked through you to do the things to save her life.
yes. Sorry, I have trouble with this.
Yeah.
Like I have a habit of saying, like miracles happened, and I was in the room, which
Mm-hmm.
like my friends get down on me. It's like, no, you were actually involved
You're
in
a part.
that.
They use
yes.
us
Yes.
to do the things that they know that we're capable of following these instructions. And if we don't follow it, they give us that noogie in the head or make you late for class until they say, do you get it now? This is what we need you to do. So the domino effect, so this happens and this unfolds and this healing takes place.
It's definitely been all my senses.
Yeah.
And I've had, I think every physician does. Moments where you make a call that's life-changing for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you spent hours and hours with her.
Oh, we were there very late.
Yes, you were there very late.
But it was
And
neat.
it was
'cause,
needed.
I
was
create
needed.
a camaraderie, I know that. I create a space that feels safe and welcoming that people want to be in. And so we were there, oh boy, probably till 10,
She
10:30
said it
at
was
night.
after around 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it was late. And my med student was still there going strong. The nurse, they wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
They wanted to stay, and they felt very, it wasn't just my patient. It just became this kind of community experience to help someone that we all had grown very fond of very quickly.
Yeah.
And it was a really beautiful thing.
And she opened herself up to be accepting of all of the healing and all the messages that were coming through.
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than I had expected. I always kind of do like a little dance, kind of see how people are gonna respond. And she wasn't someone I would have expected, but she just let it all in.
Yeah, because she appears very traditional.
Yes.
And she has, in the few years I know her, she has opened up and her life has changed in so many beautiful ways. We were talking earlier about some of your experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So let's share. I'll let you share some of your experiences that other people watching the show will find interesting, because I found over the years of doing the show that whatever you say or I say,
Mm-hmm.
someone out there needs to hear. And if it's not them that needs to hear it, it's something they're going to share with someone else that needs to hear the words that were shared here.
Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about mechanics, things that I
Okay.
say frequently. So one of my favorite explanations is I have dogs. I have two boxers and I have a miniature bulldog who's like miniature, but then like huge personality. And she sleeps with me all the time now. I don't know how that happened. And so I get up in the morning, I go to the kitchen, I start to make coffee, she stays in bed. And then I come back to make my bed, and I had this like bowling ball of a dog right in the middle of the sheets, right? And so I'm tugging and I'm pulling and I'm trying to get the sheets back to put them where they belong, and I can't because I got a dog on it. And the same kind of thing happens to us. So if you imagine my shirt is maybe like skin or muscle or something, and you take it and you do this, any blood vessels going through here, not getting through that well. Same thing for the nervous system, and the muscles and the tendons, like building around this. And then more importantly, and here's where people kind of miss what's really happening. They say, well, my back hurts. And then they try to stretch their back and they do all kinds of things they probably shouldn't do to their back.
Right.
And I'm guilty of this too. And the reality is something's happening up here that's making it impossible for this to go where it belongs. And so the work is to open that up so now we can spread it all out and all of the parts of our body can move and do what they need to do. We believe in osteopathy that the body is a self-healing has a self-healing what do you say that?
A self-healing mechanism.
Mechanism that works. I had a concussion a little bit back, so sometimes I can't always find the words that I want. So
that might have opened up your gift also.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They totally took out my frontal lobe.
They totally took
Executive
it.
functioning, word finding, multitasking, following someone else's sentence is huge. The only thing they left me was the part of me that uses my hands.
But look what else they gave you. These other gifts that you
well,
talk
I mean,
about.
they took away the stuff I was most comfortable with. And when I say they, I just mean my like spiritual guidance like system or team or whatever. Substitute anything that makes sense for your religious belief systems. I feel like they're all the same. We just have different language for
Yeah.
it. So that's my language. They left me, the only thing they left me that I could do perfectly was this hands-on stuff. And then when I finally quit the group practice, because it's like, I don't know when I can go back to this, and I don't even know if I want to, that's when the other stuff really started to kick up.
Yeah.
But just as an example, when all of the kinks are out, I have a friend, and she got a really nasty break to her foot, like displaced, really bad. And then like the next week found out that she was pregnant. I think she was already scheduled for surgery when she found out she was pregnant. So, that's not going to work, especially first trimester. So they put her in a boot and she's limping along and trying to figure it out. And then we got to talk and I said, well, come to the office, let me look at that for you. And I basically did the longer version of this. You open it up, you get things so the healing chemicals your body make can reach it, right? So that you can get down in the foot, you can drain the swelling out. And so she came to me about a week later, she says, you're never going to believe this. We did, because they were doing ultrasounds and x-rays. My foot went from here to here in 1 week.
Yeah.
And she says, my orthopedic surgeon had no idea what to think about that. She said she'd never seen it before. Another example, also a foot by chance. There is a really, really sweet teenage boy that I take care of. I adore him. I adore his family. They say that you bring your people into your practice.
Yes.
And I love my people. I got a message 9 o'clock at night, and he had fallen during basketball, which he wasn't supposed to be doing, and he twisted the ankle badly, couldn't walk on it, it's swollen, and it's not good. And so they said, like, now what? And so I gave them kind of like step-by-step instructions. When people listen to me, really good things happen.
And when we don't do our homework, it doesn't work.
Nope, but I love you anyway.
Yeah.
So I gave them step by step. They did it. They brought him in the next day. Same thing, undid all this mess, and so now the swelling's coming out. You got better blood flow. So even though there was bruising, the arterial flow, the venous exchange coming back is now taking all of that bruising back out of the foot. So I worked on him just about an hour. He hopped in and he walked out with barely any limp.
Yeah.
I gave same thing, hourly instructions over the weekend. He came back in on Monday. I gave him that last little tune-up, making sure the bones and the harder structures were where they
Mm-hmm.
belonged. And he played. He played baseball Tuesday. And that was at least a 3-week sprained ankle. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And I can't put a torn ligament back together, but a torn ligament can put itself back together pretty quickly if it's where it belongs and is getting what it needs
Yeah.
to get.
Which is exactly what you did.
So I've got tons of stories like that. They make me really happy inside.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, when you meet someone and you don't know why, but you put your hand on their shoulder, it's so important to follow that instinct, that guide, that little nudge for you.
So now I see the body. I see the body in multi-dimensions, like all different places. So I'll be sitting with someone at dinner and we're talking, like, can I just fix your hand? Because it's driving me crazy. Like, I can't look at that anymore. And the little nudges are coming more along the lines of the extra information. Like, ask this person about their boyfriend.
Mm.
Like, there's grandma in the corner, should probably tell them they're there. So those things that I'm much less comfortable with in general, and definitely not comfortable with integrating into a medical practice.
Mm.
We don't do that in medicine.
In Western medicine.
Western medicine.
But you think back to the original people of all the different tribes in just the standard United States.
Yeah.
That's the medicine.
That's true. Healing used to be for all of a person.
To take ourselves to, like Alberto Vallaldo and a number of others teach as shamanic healing. I think when we're in the healing arts and we get out of our own way, it becomes shamanic healing because it's the ancestors that are guiding us to do what we need to do. When you were working on me that time, my ancestor, in addition to yours, were there. And when you said, you described my grandmother there, and she was telling you what to do.
If a spirit or a teacher or an entity shows up in the room, they have something to say.
Yes.
And frequently, I don't recall in your situation, it's because there's a not listening. Whatever it is that the person needs to get, imminently, isn't making it through. And so I often end up in the middle of those conversations.
Because not everyone could hear it.
And I don't think everyone can deliver it cleanly.
Mm-hmm.
Like my spirits, like my training was very much about how to be as clean as possible, to be out of the way. So this is something I kind of figured out or was told recently. If I can bring in energy and then I try to give that to you, most of it isn't useful to you because it's my flavor. You need your flavor.
Okay.
So what my spirits have really taught me how to do is to allow that flow to come in and out without changing it.
That's it.
And what I found is that also tends to create this sense of absolute love and acceptance and kindness. And it facilitates these conversations when the emotional aspect is part of what's tangled up. Right? Like it doesn't matter where the tangle is coming from. It just matters that you find the point of origin and help to release that. People are way more willing to let go of their low back than they are to let go of the fact that their childhood issues or the abusive relationship that they're in. But if that's where it's starting, in the emotions,
it's not going to clear up unless you
I
really
could
go to
treat
the
your back all
source.
day long and it's not going to fix it.
Yeah. So there's something that you wanted to touch on. And full dimensional healing.
Oh, this is the sentient thing.
Yes.
So I have been trying for a very long time to figure out how to explain what I do, right? Like we've just in this conversation gone from a sprained ankle to really weird. And
to some. Yeah.
Well, for anyone who's in the energy world, and especially new in the energy world, that whole like, oh my God, I feel crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely still present. So weird is like a step up from crazy for me. um, I am a scientist. I am a physician. I do find explanations to be very important and rational thought to be an important part of this.
Yeah.
And so trying to come up with a unifying explanation for everything that was happening on the table,
Mm-hmm.
it finally hit me only about a week ago that we treat the body as a vessel. And I think that's fair across multiple different religious and spiritual backgrounds. You know, like you've got your spirit, your soul, and you come down to be in this life and you plop into a body and then off you go. And we feel or we talk about the body as though it's an empty vessel. You know, like you dropped yourself into a car or a vase or a bowl, or, you know, like that it's just this thing that you have to be here to participate. And I realized after facilitating many conversations between people and their bodies, which was also a moment of like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
Like the body is arguing and saying things like, I don't even, I don't know where this is coming from. The body is a sentient participant in that exchange that we create to be alive, to be here, and to fully, you know, experience this environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading Candace Pert. I just adore her. She wrote Molecules of Emotion. Back in the 70s, she was part of the team that discovered the opiate receptor.
Right.
And so very much about like what's going on in the system and
Right.
that kind of, again, chemical healing, scientific interface. And she eventually did some work about how the body is a subconscious mind. That the things that we store the things in there that the brain can't handle or doesn't have time for in that moment.
That's fascinating.
Right?
And it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. So then here comes the body. It's like, we need to talk. This isn't working for me. And that conversation, that back and forth of what needs to happen and what's currently happening and just making that flow, it's huge. And since the body, since that interface that we have between the body and our soul or our spirit covers all these realms, then if I'm facilitating that conversation, my healing covers all those realms. So sometimes it's a sprained ankle, and sometimes it's your dead grandma, you know, and
Sometimes it's a
child
broken
issue.
heart.
Exactly.
And even in the traditional field, I don't know the ICD code for it, there is broken heart syndrome, which I experienced, much to my surprise, when Scott died. And I had all the symptoms of someone getting ready to go into a heart attack.
Yeah.
And the gentleman, the doctor that I went to, just sat me down. A friend drove me because I wasn't even able to drive. And he said, it is so real. A broken heart is physical also. You know, and he's someone that I used to drum with, you know, and it was like, I didn't even think of it. Even though I was doing this work then, it was, no, this has to be something physical. Yes, it is physical, but it was exacerbated by something emotional, because this was a true heart connection. This was my person, who's not here anymore, but he is here, as you and I have spoken.
Yeah.
But and there are some physicians like yourself that, what a blessing that you acknowledge it and you're working with it, rather than saying, no, I don't want to, and fighting spirit and the guides all the way down the line, because it doesn't help you, and it doesn't help you help other people. You know,
It's a big leap, though.
it's
That's
a
a leap of
very
faith.
big leap. It's a very big leap. So I don't want the whole show to go through with me not asking you, how do people get in touch with you to make appointments, to ask you questions?
Well, I recently hired a social media girl.
All right. Way to go. And I love the cards that you gave me, because I leave about 5 or 6 of them wherever I go. I'm going to need more soon.
I have to figure that out. We're kind of talking about doing a rebranding.
Okay.
Because everything is changing so much, and I I feel like that where healing meets science really encapsulates
Yeah.
the place that I stand in the
Okay.
healing world, in the medical world.
Is
I-
there a website at this time?
There's a website, drmialaurel.com, and I have the Instagram. I think it's also at Dr. Mia Laurel. My office is at 201 Montauk Highway, Suite 3. It's in West Hampton Beach, and it's right next to the Dunkin' Donuts building.
Yes.
I'm between a wine shop and a Dunkin' Donuts building.
Right. Talk
So
about addictions, right?
yeah,
And
like,
then
come
get you
your
in the
fix
middle,
and
right?
then
Yes.
take it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the way to get a hold of me at this point.
Okay. And your office is so lovely.
Oh, it's like I had a woman say it felt like walking into a hug.
She's right.
Everyone makes it about 2 steps in the door and then goes,
We all exhale.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's
Yes,
beautiful. Does
yeah.
half my work for me.
Yeah. It really is so sweet. It really is. So in your unfolding, where do you see, or where are your guides? What road are they putting you on right now? So, and how many days a week are you in the office?
I'm available Monday through Friday.
Okay.
I'll try to cluster appointments, so I'm not
Okay.
just coming in for one, but I will.
Okay.
Typically 10 to 5, but I will come in 9 to 6 if someone needs that.
Okay.
Occasionally I'll do a weekend. I'm actually headed down to New Jersey, not this weekend, but next weekend to see a family. I was treating them over the summertime and then they went home.
Right.
So they've got a group together and we're gonna have a big old healing day.
That's good. That's really good. And it's so enlightening for you too, to be with so many different people.
It's nice. So
And
everyone
each
needs
one-
something different.
Yeah.
It never gets boring. It's always exciting.
Yeah.
And I never know what's gonna happen.
So on a personal thing, she's going to make a face at me. Are you drumming? I dropped off a drum for you.
Occasionally. Oh, should I say that?
Because I'm
Perhaps
getting
so.
the feeling that you need to put your hands on the drum more.
I'd like to know how to put my hands on the drum better.
We will get together. When I do the
That would be
blessing for
helpful.
you, I will get you some basic rhythms.
I
And
feel
then
like
you
a
can...
monkey, like.
There's some very talented ones, like in the old days, with the grinder guy, back in the old movies and stuff like that. So when a patient comes into you, what happens for you when you haven't met them before and they walk in the door to your beautiful office?
What happens for me?
Yeah. What is your experience? And do you see their energy immediately? Do you see the layers of them?
So I was 18 before I realized I was seeing auras.
Okay.
And I think I'm kind of taking a segue here. I think it's important to state, though, for people that do have abilities. And I've met several recently who I call are going through psychic puberty, which is like out of the seams. It's the water you swim in. There was never a moment before you had that ability. You've always heard, you've always seen, you've always experienced. It's always been overwhelming. And so those moments like, did that happen? It probably did, right? So for me, I didn't know that I was seeing auras. It was just there. Like you have orange in your earrings, like that's there. And then the layer that's around you is also just there.
Yeah.
And so I said to somebody, like, well, of course, can't you see? Like, no wonder he feels this way. And they're like, what are you talking about? So I've learned to turn it down, and I've learned to turn it. I don't say
To
I would
fine
say
tune
off.
it, maybe?
Like turn it down.
Yeah.
So I see them healed, actually. And then I see the gap between where they are and where that is. And then we talk.
Yeah.
And then I put my hands on them and the whole thing goes together. And sometimes if they're not comfortable with that kind of talking, I just kind of say it in my head, like, you are loved. This, it's safe to let this go, like whatever it is. Like the affirmations don't work as well when the person's not participating, but they still work.
Yeah.
And so that's another one of my abilities. It's like I've always seen the highest potential. Always. And now I'm seeing how to connect the dots. So that's the part of it that's new.
Okay. And do you see it for yourself too?
Oh.
I know. Ouch, I asked you that, right? How dare I?
Of course not.
Isn't that the kicker, that we really don't see it for ourselves?
I've had so many loved ones say, like, look how far you've come this year. The car accident was in February. I had to go on disability, and I already had a private practice that I've been working in for a few years. My patients started my private practice for me. They're like, you need to not just be here,
Mhm.
you need to be over here too.
Yeah.
And they've said, like, look how far you've come. Look at what you've done with the office. Look at what you've done with your marketing and your website. And I
And
have,
getting the word of you out
I've had a
there.
hard time. I've had a hard time honoring that.
Yeah.
Medical training didn't help that part.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's this awareness of, look at where I was, look at where I am now, and the realization of you're not done yet can really take your breath away for a moment or two.
I think the biggest thing I'm present to is how many people I can help now. Yeah. And how, the amount that I can do for others has grown exponentially. So I'm present to that.
Have you ever taken a walk through one of the local nursing homes?
I try not to. We used to treat in those. So when I was going through my residency training, we would actually go and work on the patients, and
That's a hard place
it's a hard
with all
place to
those.
be. Yep. Hospitals, actually hospitals better than that.
It is.
But they're neither one are great.
Yeah.
Not for a sensitive.
No, when you're ultra sensitive, it is, it's extremely challenging. You feel like you're being bombarded by sadness, you know. So from a distance, what we all do and what we do when we meet for the Reiki circle is send the healing energy out to the places that we either can't or that are really difficult to get to, you know, because when you click in like that, it really, it's a direct line.
That's true.
You know, it's a real direct line. So do you have a daily ritual other than getting up, making your coffee, and having that lumpy lump in your bed? Which
Oh,
dog
my
is in the
sweet
bed?
Moxie.
Which one is in the bed?
Her name is Moxie. She's the miniature bulldog.
Okay.
She's so cute.
Well, Lindsay, the gentleman that you just met, he has a bulldog also. Bueller is not, there's nothing miniature about him.
And she's like this big. She's like 33 pounds now. She lost a little bit of weight, get a little shelter in our new
Okay.
house. She's playing more. Do I have a ritual? I don't know. The first thing I do is always turn on the coffee machine. Does that count?
Yes, it counts. It is.
No, I've been bad about that. And to be completely honest, I have been ignoring guidance on that. So there will be a time in the not too distant future where that smackdown's going to happen, and I'm going to have to get real about it. But I do tune in. I'm tuned into my guides most of the time. I'm listening most of the time. I'm arguing less of the time than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is an open back and forth, and I do what they ask me to do.
Yeah. I was quite resistant for many years, and I don't think I ever shared this with you, but many people that have watched the show over the years have heard this episode in my life. When my mom was in the process of passing, I worked for Eastern Suffolk Cardiology, that crew. Very traditional office,
Yep, I know that crew.
And what was interesting is the big guy, Babu, used to I was in nuclear medicine, and in between patients, he would come in to me, and he would want me to do Reiki on his back.
Really?
Because his lower back hurt him. He also didn't realize it was all old stuff.
Yeah.
You know, sitting in his heart. He was worried about his mother, etc. So I would do Reiki, and it makes such a good connection. When my hands would be on his lower back, this way his spine is in the middle of my fingers and my hands are out like this, he would tell me he felt the warmth coming up and ending up in his heart. I was like, what a surprise. But I got a call one day in the nuclear stress lab that my mom had gone into a coma.
Oh.
She was 94. And that was a Tuesday. And I had seen her that Sunday, and she was fine. She was 94, not sick, a firecracker. She'd get on the bus and go into Manhattan. She was the president of the Women's Grand Jurors Association until she was 90. So this was a very active individual. And it was like, what? And it was like, yeah, your sister, called and you have to go. So I left the office, and by just the hour and a half, whatever it took me to get there, she was in a coma. And they were giving her, I believe it was morphine in the dropper, just to make sure she's not in pain. Called my son David. He came in. He's also a Reiki master. And we were doing Reiki on her. And my sister Vicky, who has since passed, was there. And Vicky was highly agitated. And this is our mother, and I understand your agitation. But I felt and still feel that I was really blessed by going through the training I went through to be an Anamkara, to be the midwife to the dying. And here's my mother going through it. Only she said to me, without her mouth moving, all right, you and David have stayed long enough, get out. This is between me and Vicky.
Ooh,
And
interesting.
I'm like, whoa. And my mother had a do not resuscitate and just let me go, just make sure I'm not in pain.
Yeah.
And Vicky said to me, no, we're canceling hospice, we're sending the nurse home, we're putting her on life support. I said, no, you can't do that. That's not what she wanted.
Was
It's
she
what
proxy?
Hmm?
Was she proxy? Just curious.
I was proxy.
Oh, thank God.
I said, you cannot do that. That's not her wishes. If it's your wishes for you, that's fine. These are her wishes, to just not be in pain. That's all. And David and I were doing Reiki on her. When the nurse said to me, do you want to give her this dose? And I said, yes, I do. So I put the dropper into her lips, her teeth parted, and she bit down on it. So it was like, even not being conscious, she was playing with us. And she made it very clear, go home. It's very, very late, October night, a little drizzly, making for a good movie, right?
Right.
And I'm on the expressway. It's around after 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm out here by us. So there's no lights running on the side of the road. And I had a manual stick shift Volkswagen at the time. And I hear Scott, and I know it was Scott. I'm in the middle lane. And he said, move to the right. And I looked around and I said, no,
Oh, really?
there's no one around.
That's good.
There's no lights. I'm looking in this mirror. I'm looking in this mirror. I'm looking here. There's no one around. I'm not moving to the right. Basically, F you. And then he says again, move to the right. And now I feel myself digging my heels into my attitude. No, I'm not going to. Not thinking, this is one of your main spirit guides, guardians, and he's telling you to move your silly self to the right, and you're just being not going to do it.
Moving car, like
Not going to do it. And I'm doing probably around 70, and I'm saying it's 1, 2 in the morning, whatever it is. There's no one around. There's no lights. There's nothing. And by the third or fourth move to the right, and me being an obnoxious individual, the steering wheel was taken from my hands. I was moved to the right. And as I was moved to the right, in that second, a piggyback tractor trailer came down I got goosebumps again. Every time I repeat this, came down that middle lane with no running lights, no headlights. He could not have seen me. I obviously did not see him. He would not have seen me until he was on me. So I'm off to the right now. I said, okay, I give you my word. From now on, I will do my best to pay attention and do what you ask of me when you ask me to do it. So I know there are times that I get a little ornery, and then all of a sudden it's like, do you remember October 17th, 2006? Do you remember that? It was like, yes. And I do my best to listen. So I hope you learn from my story to put your resistance to the guidance
Do I have time for a quick story?
Yes, you do.
So back in my mid-20s, oh boy. So basically there was a really close group of women.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd been through some interesting things together, and we were very bonded. And then the means for us to be together, because it was academic, right, had gone away, and so we decided, let's all get together. And so we all got together and it was a great day. And at the end, I found myself lingering. And my spirits are saying, you have to talk to so-and-so who'd hosted the thing. You have to talk to so-and-so. It's bad, something really bad. And I'm in my mid-20s, like mid-20s, right? Nothing bad ever happens. We're
Right.
never gonna die. Be happy forever.
Infallible.
Right, so that also wasn't real for me, that bad things happen.
Yeah.
And they kept saying it, and I kept resisting it because I was too embarrassed, and what if I'm wrong, and I don't want to scare her for no reason. And in the end, I gave kind of a mushy version
Okay.
of something was going to happen. Week later, she and her friends, there was another like communal house, right? We're like your family friends. And several people lived in the house, children lived in the house. It was where everyone gathered. It was home. And several of her friends had gone out to a dance club, and they ended up befriending this guy who just seemed he was really sad, like he really needed some friends and family. So they brought him back to the house. He went back out to the car and got an automatic offense rifle, came to the house and shot and killed half of the people, wounded several more, with the kids home. So that's the one that they throw back at me.
Yeah.
When they tell me to speak, and I don't want to
speak.
Speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still feel bad about that.
Yeah. So hopefully that when you're listening to us share this, that when you have that gut instinct and that sensation, I have to say something, I have to make the right turn instead of the left turn, I have to stay a little longer at this red light, just that
Or turn
count
left when
to
you
three.
need to turn right.
Right.
And be late.
All those little things make huge differences in the giant tapestry of what's going on.
I would like to tell people too, if you feel a little nauseous and it kind of makes you want to puke, you're probably going the right way. Just truly, right? Like none of it feels good.
If you're not used to it, it feels really bizarre when you're first doing it. When you were talking about putting your hand on someone's shoulder years ago, my gosh, in the 1990s, the late 1990s, I worked at what is now Peconic Bay Medical Center. And back in the day, it was Central Suffolk, and those of us that worked there used to call it Central Slaughter, which was an in-house thing at the time. It's come a very long way. So have we. And I just totally lost my train of thought, so I guess I wasn't supposed to tell that story. Yeah, but we did call it that. It was an interesting place to work. Oh, it came back. So I worked for a wonderful doctor, and you might know him, Evan Nadell.
Nope.
He's a gem. Traditional, leanings, and open to other, but a solid individual, straightforward, which is one of the things I always liked about him. And I was prepping a patient for him, a gentleman. And the wife came in, and the husband is sitting on the edge of the table. And I'm going through his meds and whatever. And they were just a lovely older couple, and probably older than them now than what they were then. And the wife said, "Oh, I have to talk to Dr. Nadell. The back of my neck is really bothering me." I said, "Oh, can I help you with that?" So channeling Reiki, so I rubbed my hands together, did a little silent prayer, and put my hands just a hair away from touching her flesh. And the husband is talking to me, and the three of us are chatting. And she said, "Phoenix, would you take that heat pack off? It's too hot." And the husband's jaw dropped, and I'm just smiling. And he said, "She doesn't have a heat pack on you. It's her hands." So, and it's what you do, the energy that comes through your hands. And like I said, we really believe we all have this wonderful gift. Many years ago, we used to have a once a month drum circle and potluck at one of the churches in Southampton. And one night, a little boy closed his fingers in the car door.
Oh.
He came into the main hall where the drummers were and everybody was, and the group gathered around him, and someone got to him and took his hands, this was his fingers, and just closed their fingers, their hand palms gently
Yeah.
around him. And we all stood there and everybody is just quiet. You know, some people were carrying on for no reason, whatever. It was like, just calm it down, calm it down. Within less than 5 minutes, there was just a little redness. There was nothing broken. He was fine. It was absolute perfection. And when you think of it, when you hurt yourself, the first thing you do, if say you hurt your hand, is do this. You would bring your hand to your heart or to your stomach, and you're doing self-healing on yourself.
Mhm.
Your intention is to heal that spot, to heal that hurt.
I feel like the medical training is the structure that my healing work flows through.
Mm.
Because prior to medical school, I was not strong enough. I didn't have enough presence. I didn't have what it took to say yes or no or hold the space that I have now. And so it's really given me, it keeps it from collapsing, and it keeps it real, and it keeps it with, I think, like a direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about ankles today. So I was up on a counter. Well, and they told me not to. Let's start there.
Okay.
I wanted the thing up there, like, like you're 5, and the
Mhm.
spirit said no, and I said, so I climbed up on the
Yeah.
counter in a way, which never ends well, and fell, predictably, caught the fridge, and had a moment of, ha!
And then,
The fridge opened,
Oh.
and I fell the rest of the way, landed very poorly. My friend was in the kitchen who was also trained in osteopathy. And I hopped over to her, put my foot in her face, and I said, put it back. And she did.
How long ago did you do this?
This is COVID-esque.
Yeah, so not that long ago.
No, not that long ago.
So any of you thinking she was 5 years old, cancel that.
Nope. Well, kind of still, but
Yeah.
not in my
When
body.
it's appropriate, right?
Well, my mom put together some things she got off Amazon with a little Allen wrench.
Yes.
And just, I mean, she's older and she doesn't feel her hands very well. And so they were really hurting her. And I was driving. So, I can't grab your hands and rework the fascia and do all the medical stuff that I would do
Yeah.
along with the energy. All I have is energy. So I said, well, give me your hand. And so I did that instead. I did the energy without the hands-on stuff.
Right.
And we got all but one finger.
Mm-hmm.
And that finger has a contracture forming. So now I know about that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really interesting how both work separately, and then the marriage of the two is something really exceptional.
And that you have the scientific background.
Mm-hmm. And I love it. I love science, biochemistry, all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Love anatomy. Yeah.
So what about teaching?
I don't know. I went to Evergreen in Washington. It was one of the best experiences of my life. If I were going to teach, I'd go back there.
Yeah.
Um,
But you're teaching myself and all your patients also when we walk in your door.
oh, yes, constantly. Oh, I do have something in the hopper.
Tell us.
So actually a couple things. So one of them is I'm a yogi. I'm a 20-year yogi. I love hot yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And people come in with their sports, not just yoga, but they come in, tennis players, golfers, all of that. I can see exactly what you're doing with your stroke or whatever that's creating problems, and we can rework your stroke and fix the anatomy. Okay, so again, back to the scientific side. I'm going to be teaching a course through Doza Yoga. It's basically how to not tear your rotator cuff.
This is something everyone needs.
Yeah, because all my yogis are doing the same things wrong. And so it's like, we need to talk. We need to have a class here, pair up, like let's get real and really identify the muscle groups and the patterns that you're doing before you end up with the labral tear, because that's where they're headed. And that's the most common injury in yoga for people who aren't, keeping up on how to do it properly is shoulder injuries. I'm also putting together a weight loss thing. So obviously there's Ozempic and there's B vitamin stuff that helps fat burning, and there's all the medical science. There's the science. But that's not who I am. I'm healing in science. So I'm creating a program with kind of like 2 prongs. So we're going to start out with, there's a book I love called The Language of Emotions. To really hone in on what is sadness. when it's not combined with all these other things? And what is anger? And how are these things healthy? Because if you think of nobody loves me,
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants me, like that whole thing, that leaves you no place to go. It's completely disempowered. You're sitting in victimhood, and it's a real experience, and you get to have your experience. So another way of phrasing that is, and really the more accurate version is, I have been profoundly and deeply hurt, damaged, and disappointed to the point where I no longer allow the experience of love to enter.
Mm.
Like, that's more accurate. And when you say it that way, you still get your truth, you still honor your experience, and now you're in the driver's seat of something. You can work with that, you can move that. So really working with people to experience their emotions as they are in an empowered way. So it's not, you're not feeling that, it's not, that's not good enough. It's like, you feel exactly like that. And how can we work with it? You know, like with a, like I tell people, just imagine you're sitting in a room with a cobra. Don't poke it. Don't try to get rid of it. Don't try to make it smaller. Like, just let it sit over there for just leave it alone. Because that's one of the biggest things is just letting your experience be real.
Yeah.
So starting there, going into intuitive eating, which is not dieting. It's
Mm-hmm.
about an awareness of why do I want that? Okay, do I still want to eat it? Yes. Okay, fine. Right? So it's bigger than that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And then not potluck. So as a group, we come up with the menu.
Mm-hmm.
You make the green beans. I
Right.
make the chicken. We spread out that the meal amongst people. And then when we get together, everyone fills up a casserole dish and takes home a meal for the family.
Beautiful.
Right? So because you come to these things, and it's like, well, I'm giving up a night of my life. I'm giving up a night to clean. And like, okay, well, if we do this, you're not anymore. Now you're getting something back that makes it more
That's a wonderful
workable.
idea.
I thought so.
Yeah. So you're going to put that out on your website, or
Yes.
let me
when we
know
get
so
there.
I can.
I'm looking more New Year because
Okay.
you know, resolutions and all that. So there's a whole thing on that, and like eating in restaurants and and then on the exercise side, learning movement, just basic movement, having an instructor come in, teach private classes.
Okay.
Then we go to the studio with just us, so it's still safe. So you get to know the studio, you get to know the teacher, and then, okay, well, who liked Pilates and who liked yoga? Okay, you three, you go to a regular class now and pick your corner, and you're there with the rest of the students. Because I know personally, picking the sport, picking the location, driving my car there, sitting in my car, trying to make myself go inside.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all barriers. And so I really want to help take down these barriers and bring the empowerment back. So that's the healing aspect, science aspect alongside of it. Like let's make something new happen around weight.
What a wonderful way to end the show. Let's make something new happen.
Mm-hmm.
I can't thank you enough for coming on today.
I've had a fantastic time.
I'm so glad you did, and I had a fantastic time having you here. So we have a couple of seconds. Tell people your email again and how to get in touch with you.
Oh, my website is drmialaurel.com. Oh, messed it up. drmialaurel.com. Same on Instagram. All my contact information is there. Text me. That is the best turnaround, is if you text me.
Okay. And if you lose all of this and have no idea how to get her, contact me and I will get you in touch with her. I thank you again.
Thank
my
you.
Precious one. And thank you all for supporting the show and watching. Love, light, and many blessings to you all. Be kind to each other. Bye now. See you soon.